Hello my gorgeous makeup loving friends, I hope you're having a fantastic day and a great start to your weekend. My name is Teresa and I love all things makeup, beauty and skincare. So on the weekends I like to hang out with you guys and talk about the newest releases in that category. However, if you follow makeup release accounts like Makeup on Your Radar, Point Click Vibes, Trend Mood, etc., you will know that there are basically a lot of releases. Yeah, you thought I was going to swear. I didn't. It's called personal growth. But there's a lot, and quite frankly, I don't want to cover all of them. I try to keep it to be the most interesting things, but to discern what is interesting from what is not, you guys tag me, you DM me, you email me. A massive thank you to you guys because you helped me to put together this episode. So a massive thank you to all of you who have done that. Your names are being displayed right now. A massive thank you, as always, to my YouTube community members. This is where I say wonderful things about them and the wonderful human beings that they are. How many times can I say wonderful? I really do need to get to this. But it is what it is and they're fabulous and I love them and it is what it is. Anyways, we have a few things to talk about, but we must remember to stay hydrated. Just because we are going into the winter season here in the Northern Hemisphere, you're not in the Southern Hemisphere. I do know that much. I'm a learned scholar. But we must remain hydrated, and I stay hydrated with tea. This is my mug du jour, and it's so cute. It actually, I'm going to try and turn it around, and it says, "You are perfect." You're not seeing it in that way because it's, you know, mirror flipped, but it's really, really cute. And my students got it for me because they're the best. I love my students. But anyways, let's get straight on into it. The first thing that we're actually talking about is that there's a new brand that has come to Beauty Bay. They're called SAMPLR. I've seen them on my TikTok a couple of times. They're very affordable. And I'd heard kind of whispers about something to do with them and Beauty Bay. I think a few people were kind of thinking that Beauty Bay had something to do with SAMPLR, but now it looks like SAMPLR themselves are being stocked on Beauty Bay. Now, I actually think this is quite interesting because essentially there's not a lot of like packaging wowness with them, but I think the interesting thing is actually the shades that they have here and the price tags. And I've seen a few people using them and they look pretty darn good. Like the most expensive things are the overall sets, which are like the eyeshadows, the removal thing, and then the smaller palette. And that's €22. I don't know what you guys think, but that's pretty darn good. And at the moment they have 4 kind of styles, and I have to say, I think they're pretty good. Pretty good. So I may think about these at some point. I don't need them. I don't. But I thought you guys might be interested because in my opinion, Beauty Bay have been a bit lackluster and they haven't been getting a lot of interesting brands, but this might be a good one for them to get. So quite frankly, kudos. The next thing that we have to talk about is Flower Beauty. You know, the brand by Drew Barrymore that is closing or has closed after 13 years. There's part of me that isn't wildly surprised about that simply because we just didn't really see any releases from them. But there's a part of me that is surprised because those who had tried the brand had nothing but positive things to say about it. I know there's quite a few people who would say that some of their products are essentially their favourite, and there's been a lot of people over on Reddit saying, I've tried to buy all of the remaining thing of that thing that I really enjoy. It's things like concealers, foundations, etc. And they've gone off and they've run off to get it. And trust me, I understand. I am the same sort of person. Now, I never got to try Flower Beauty because it didn't really seem to get stocked here in Ireland. But yeah, it just shows it's a competitive market. But I do feel like Drew Barrymore in general just hasn't been very interested in makeup lately, and maybe this is just a very authentic closure, to which, you know, fair enough, I understand. But we're going to get into the actual newness. And I talked about this one last week where I had just seen kind of like the pans in the palette, but I hadn't seen the full palette. And I was saying, I really hope I hate this. And it is, of course, Nomad Cosmetics, their Pacific Northwest palette. It's retailing for €61.95. They also have like a mug and a hat, which doesn't sound like it makes sense, but it kind of does. Because, you know, Pacific Northwest, it's chilly. You're going to want to have like a warm beverage. Maybe they've watched me and they're like, mug du jour. Here is your mug du jour. Anyway, so I'm not talking about the mug. I'm talking about the palette. It is beautiful. They also are putting a certain amount towards the conservation of the Northwest. They do that with every palette. They choose a particular charity. They put money towards that. They have evening primrose oil in there, apparently, that helps the colours to stay as beautiful as the lands of the Pacific Northwest. They're, as usual, cruelty-free and vegan, and they're 100% plastic-free from their neck of the woods to ours. Their words, not mine. Gosh, we're looking at 9 matte, 3 shimmers, 4 dazzles, dazzling duochromes and 2 multi-chromes for €61.95. Now I feel that's not too bad for an 18 pan indie brand palette. I was really hoping I would hate this, that I would look at this and be like, no, but to be fair, I'd seen enough of the shades that I kind of was thinking, oh no, this is gonna break me. It's beautiful, and I even like that pop of the red, even though there's nothing else to kind of blend it out with, like there's no other reds, but I can see how it works with the rest of the palette. The swatches look gorgeous. Absolutely stunning. I really enjoy it. This is obviously a standalone palette. You could use it by yourself, but I also see the potential to use this with their extent collection as well. So I really appreciate that. I've said it before, the thing that bothers me is their imprints, because they're so cute in the pan that I feel really bad putting a brush or my disgusting fingers into it and ruining it, because I just have a weird thing about that. But it's stunning. It's really, really beautiful. I think the only thing that is preventing me from getting this is the fact that I have shades that are similar to this, not necessarily all curated together in one palette, but I have stuff that is similar-esque, and that's probably what is somewhat preventing me, because I am trying. I'm attempting to like curate myself and not totally lose the run of myself, although I will say, and feel free to judge me, because quite frankly I judge myself. I did get the 4 new Patrick Tas. I know I said I wasn't going to get them, but there are no excuses. I am weak and I really like the duos as they are. Like, I get a lot of use out of them, so I was like, fuck it, this is happening, so whatever. But somehow I've managed to resist this. I do like Nomad's formula. I really, really do. And I like the look of this. And what is, I think, helping me, and I appreciate that Nomad are doing this is not a limited edition palette. I get really annoyed when brands do limited edition palettes, because there's a FOMO piece that kind of occurs with that. And it really annoys me. It's a shitty marketing technique. But they have said it's going to be around for a minimum of 12 months, but if there's enough demand for it, it will go beyond that. So I really appreciate that. And for me, that means I can sit, I can wait, I can have a think. And I like that. I think it's an absolutely stunning palette. It makes a lot of sense with what they've done thus far. It's just curated beautifully. Very, very nice. And I think the price is not bad either. So well done, Nomad. You have done well. I was also talking about Bella Beauté Bar last week, and they had shown some things but not everything. And here are the things that I didn't get to talk about because I hadn't revealed it. They are, by the way, available right now if you are interested. The remainder of the Dreamscape collection, the Dark Dreamscape collection that they hadn't shown, included the Magnetic Palette for $78, 7 shades of lip pencils in Dark Matter Dreamscape, Portal, Realm, Inception, Wormhole and Dimension, and they're $10 each. And finally, a multi-chrome lip gloss in the shade Nightmare for $22. And of course, you know, you have all the other bits and pieces that we were talking about last week of the lip balms, the highlighters, the pigments, etc. This is just what we're talking about this week. Let us discuss the palette first. I think it's quite a nice palette. I had my lovely friend Wilma message me and say it reminded them of the Beauty Bay Book of Magic, and you know what? I can kind of see that. I think that's actually quite a good thing. That was, I mean, let us be 100% honest, one of Beauty Bay's most popular palettes, and to kind of get the same sort of finish or idea from it, I think is quite good. Now, I will say I don't think this is the same finish. I think this is an elevated finish because we're looking at more interesting shimmers, multi-chromes, etc. It's quite pretty, right? Do I necessarily want it? No, I do like purple. I do. My friend Daniela was like, yeah, this is a bit of me, because she rocks purple. Like, she looks amazing in purple. She is to purple as I am to green, so it's all very understandable. I think for me this is almost, but not quite, sunsetty. Like, there's elements of it that's there. I don't feel like this necessarily dupes stuff in their collection, which is kind of difficult to do when you think about the amount that Bella Beauté Bar have actually released over the last number of years. I do think it's done quite well. $78 for a 20 pan palette. Again, not the worst price that I've seen. I mean, I've definitely discussed worse. So I think that's quite nice. It's not one for me. I appreciate that they don't have a black in there, but it's a very deep dark purple. You know, you don't always have to have a black. I like a black, I'm just a bit weird, but sometimes it's easier to actually blend out some shades with dark purples or dark blues, etc. Like May Pang was talking about that with her Rotten palette, that she didn't put a black in there, she had like a navy blue in there because she likes to use that to blend out the deep shades, to which I was like, oh, that's quite interesting. So I think that's quite a nice element. The lip pencils, I haven't heard people talking about these, but to be fair, I do keep to my own to my own realm. What the hell, $10 for a lip pencil? This is damn good. And yes, it's a limited shade range, but there's part of this that I'm like, I don't hate this. I mean, we're looking at a black lip pencil. They're tricky enough to find. I'm looking at the shade Portal, and that looks very, very light. Like, they're right. Sorry, I'm getting excited, and sometimes I stumble over my words as a result. Good luck editing, Teresa. These are neutral, but they're pink toned neutrals. So if you're not into that, I can see why this mightn't necessarily be something for you. I do like Portal. It is a more pink toned neutral, but it is leaning quite cool toned. Like, I know pink is more cool toned, but more cool toned than I would necessarily get in other pinks. Does that make sense? Who knows? I'm very interested in that. Now, I believe that Monolith stocks some Bella Beauté bar, and actually, here's another little tidbit of very exciting news. Glisten Cosmetics, you know, the amazing brand that I really fucking love. I ended up getting all of their Chroma Flick liners. Don't ask. But they have hinted that they may be stocking Bella Beauté bar. I'm excited. Very excited. But also annoyed, because then that means I'm in trouble. But it does mean that if you are getting stuff on Glisten Cosmetics, you can get some of their stuff there. My code will work. Daniela's code will work. Yeah, it's Teresa or Cosmic Peaches, blah, blah, blah. They're down in the description box if anyone cares. So what I'm really roundabout saying is, if Glisten does end up stocking this, I may pick up one or two of those lip liners. I mean, it can't hurt at that price. Yeah? I mean, I've done more foolish things, I definitely have. Then the lip gloss. Oh my goodness, that looks so sparkly, so beautiful. I have such a thing about the sparkly lip glosses. I recently got one from Girl Cult. It was part of their holiday collection. It was the JK01. And oh my god, it has many sparkle, and I love very much. And I don't know what it is about sparkly lip glosses. I'm like, yes, I do want to be sparkly and glittery. Please let me live my life. And I feel like the price tag of this one is also not insane. Like $22 for a multi-chrome glittery lip gloss, because I'm looking at things like drugstores and what they're giving you for a similar price point. I'm like, I actually feel this is quite competitively priced, considering everything is crazy expensive these days. So in terms of this collection, or this part of the collection that I've seen, because I talked about the other parts last week, I think this is done quite well. My major kind of critique or concern with Bella Beauté bar is they do tend to release quite a few things, but they do make all of their like palettes magnetic, so they can swap and change. There is that like possibility of curating your own thing, which I think is really quite smart. I'm a bit weird though. I'm like, I will keep the things where they were, because I'm a bit strange like that. I don't want to mix around the names. That's a me issue, not something that seems to impact other people. I think the price point is actually not bad at all. You know that like indie brands, it's harder for them to cut the costs. So when you're seeing lip pencils at $10 and a 20 pan magnetic palette for $78, it doesn't feel like it's the absolute worst, in my opinion. Yeah, there's definitely aspects of this that I think is really, really nice. So quite frankly, kudos to them. I enjoy it. We then have P. Louise, and P. Louise has a tendency to come out with something new every Halloween. Was it last year or the year before? It was the year before that they did like the Book of Spells thing. Well, they've come back with the more kind of book type palettes. This is the Scary Tale Ending Halloween palette, and it is available right now for €56.95. She's kind of made it a little bit kitschy. It lights up. It doesn't come with the batteries. You apparently have to supply the batteries, which just seems a bit like, okay, fair fair enough. I feel like for the amount of shades that you're getting, it is not a bad price at all. You know, like we're talking about 50, is it 54 shades? Yeah, that was very fast math. 18 pans times 3, 54. So you're talking about €1 per shade. Now that is not bad at all. My major issue, and now I didn't put the swatches up. A, because they didn't do the full swatches of each of the kind of palettes or palette pages. They only chose like a selection from them, and I find that a bit frustrating because you're not actually getting a truly informed decision there. The other reason that I didn't include it is that I know that there are a few of you guys that are very nervous or very fearful of snakes, and one of the swatches actually has a snake, like an actual snake there, and another one has like a spider. So I know that for some people that's a lot to deal with, and I really didn't want to kind of upset people unnecessarily. I know that that's just the way that P. Louise has branded it, and that's not me like digging on them. I get why they're doing that, but I'm like, I know a lot of you guys watch this as a potential comfort thing, so let's not get into that. In terms of the whole thing, I think they work very well as single palette, like as each colour story, right? I look at the green palette, obviously, and I'm like, yes, I quite like that. I'm looking at the red and grey toned palette, I quite like that. The more purpley, orangey one, I'm like, yeah, that's grand. As a cohesive thing together, I feel like it doesn't work, but that's okay. I don't feel like that's necessarily the way that they're selling it. Now, my issue that I've had with P. Louise in the past is a bit of inconsistency in terms of the eyeshadow palettes, which is why I don't tend to buy from them very often. I actually can't remember the last time I bought anything from them. The experience I have had with P. Louise eyeshadow palettes is either they're really great and work really well, or they're an absolute disaster and patchy and won't work for me. And I realise that I just said that it's a decent price. You know, it's what, €56.95 for a 54 pan palette, which is a decent price when you look at like the breakdown altogether, and the packaging is obviously increasing it. But that is still a lot of money to put forward if I don't have absolute faith in the formula. But I think that if you've had very positive experiences of P. Louise, you probably will look at this and think, yeah, this is quite cute. You know, I personally don't love their packaging. I find it a bit bulky, but that's because I have a lot of stuff. For other people who don't have the ridiculous collection that I have, they'll look at this and kind of be like, yeah, I don't give a shit that the packaging is bigger because I'm not stupid and haven't bought 100 different things. I wish I only had 100 different... No, I don't wish I had 100 different things. I have many more than that. And I love all of them. But people who have much less in their collection aren't thinking about, you know, the bulkiness, etc. But I do. And I also think about the extent to which that would increase the costs. It's also one of those things that P. Louise has kind of gradually been marketing themselves to a younger and younger audience. We just see that with cosmetics a lot these days. It's happened with skincare as well, of like getting kids involved. And it feels like adding in the lights, etc. is part of that. I don't think it's bad. It just isn't for me. I don't want to say I avoid P. Louise, but I'm just like, there's just bits about them that kind of, I don't like. Please bear with me. I don't like the way they operate on the likes of TikTok, you know, but I will say that about quite a few brands. Made by Mitchell is in there as well, who I don't talk about anymore. But the way they do their lives is almost like this big sales tactic and go, 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 buy, buy, buy. And there's a bit of a parasocial relationship between the consumers and the brand. That kind of unnerves me. It makes me feel unsettled. Now, if you're not on TikTok and you haven't seen that, you probably are like, what the fuck are you talking about? Which, you know, fair. And that's obviously not the full dimension of the brand, but it's just something that kind of gives me pause because I feel like it's not entirely an ethical business model. Just because it's like legal and you can do it doesn't mean it's necessarily morally right. I feel like it kind of, there's an element of a predatory nature on that, which I know I've like devolved into something very, very different from goddamn Halloween palette, but those are my feelings on it. But it's not a bad one, and if you like it, then hooray for you. I hope that you managed to get it. My friend Daniela actually has a code. It's Cosmic Peaches. If you are interested in getting anything from P. Louise, it'll get you some money off and she'll earn a commission. And quite frankly, I am here for that particular story. Yes. We then have Singe Beauty, and there's a few things that they're coming out with. Now, I don't have one of the things listed, or at least I don't have one of the things pictured as of filming. I may not even include it in the editing. Who knows? The thing that I'm not including is the Evocative makeup bag. It's selling for $22. But I mean, I think we're all right. We don't necessarily need to see a picture of that because the other things are quite interesting. So there is the Paisley Hoot palette. This is the third palette, to the best of my knowledge, that Singe Beauty, which is by Angelica Nickfist, that they have done. So they have very, very strategically and systematically been adding to their brand. It's felt very organic, very authentic, and it hasn't felt rushed. They did it quite interestingly in starting off with brushes and then heading towards makeup. Normally people do it like palettes first, because those are the big ticket items that you can kind of make a little bit more cheaply, etc. But it seems that Angelica has been very like, no, need to make sure I get the quality correct, which I really appreciate. The palette itself is $45. It's available as you're watching, but she's also got some lip liners. She's called them the Evocative lip liners. There's 9 shades and they're $12 each. So I'm going to say the exact same thing that I said for Bella Beauté bar. That is a really good price for a lip liner. You try and find a lip liner in a drugstore that is the same price. Now, I will say that some people have been kind of questioning the lip liners in terms of the depth and how suitable these are for various skin tones, which is fair because they've shown it just on, they say it's medium skin, but in highlighting session, highlighting settings, which I understand does actually wash out the skin quite a bit. You guys know I have a thing about lighting, and I think the way that you manipulate lighting does impact the way that things look. So I think there's an element of reality to that. But ideally, if you are showing these sorts of things, do try to show them on a diversity of skin tones when it comes to things like lip liners. But yeah, if you do like the lip liners, you can actually get 3 shades of your choosing for $32. So that would save you $4, which isn't too bad at all. I'm going to talk about that eyeshadow palette first. Oh, sweet merciful Zeus. That's really nice. I really like the look of that. There's a part of me, and it might just be that I'm being a bit silly, which is quite frankly my want, but you know how Beauty Bay re-released the Wilderness palette recently? This reminds me of that, but a much more subdued, muted palette. Like, it feels like it's a lot more user-friendly for people that might be a little bit worried about these things. And I think that's quite interesting because Angelica will be quite big on colour. And this is a colourful palette, but it's not like colour. This is quite different from what she's done out of the previous 2 palettes. And I feel like this is almost like her version of neutral. And I personally think it's really, really beautiful. She's managed to put an orange in there because of course she has, because she just has a thing about orange. And to be fair, it looks beautiful on her. So like, you know, fair enough. There's a white in there, and that's looking like a decent white, I have to say. I feel like for that price tag, it's not bad at all. I like the colour story. However, because I like the colour story, I kind of have things like that. What I like about it, or one of the things that I like about it, I like quite a few things about it, is that it feels like there's 3 separate colour stories in there. You have like your yellowy bits, you have your orangey bits, and then you have your green bits. And I really like that. There's a real sense of cohesion there. And for people who might be a little bit nervous of using like those sort of colours, it does feel like these are grouped in such a way that it's very intuitive to use, which I really appreciate. I think it looks gorgeous. And there's definitely one of those shades there. There's like it's like an orange, yellowy, gold one. It looks like there's a shift as well to a slight green. And there's at least one other duochrome in there as well that goes from like a lilac to like a brighter pink. I'd love to see that in lots of different lighting, because you know how I am. I like knowing these sorts of things. But I think it's done really, really well. It's beautiful. I haven't really heard anyone say anything negative about Singe and their experiences of that. So she seems to be running the brand quite well. Let's move on on to the lip liners, which, as I said, I feel like the price is really damn good, $12. Now, like I said, the issue that some people have come up with, and quite frankly, if that's their issue, I feel, yeah, it's valid, you know? Who am I to say? I am like the palest pale person. Probably not the palest pale person, but I'm quite pale, so I'm like, oh, I feel a bit weird talking about this, like it's not my arena at all. But it would be helpful to see some of these on deeper skin tones to evaluate whether or not they would actually work, because it is kind of left to the imagination for some people. Now, Singe have said that they have more pictures coming, which would be super, super helpful. At the moment, it's just on somebody who looks fair, but it has been said that they have a medium skin tone that is deeper, I believe, than Angelica's. And Angelica actually she's quite tan, so, you know, she would be quite medium herself. I will say, looking at this, there's a few shades that I quite like, specifically Ambitious Ash and Witty Walnut, because those are really cool toned. I like those. They're looking quite nice. I'd like to see what the story is in terms of the wear test. One of the things that I really appreciate here is that they've actually done proper swatches on the lips. It really annoys me when brands do lip liners and then pair it with a lipstick that they're not selling or isn't part of it. And I'm like, I can't tell what that is, because there's a few brands that have done that. So she's shown it kind of as it is, and I appreciate that. I do find it funny that she's got like oranges in there again, and I'm like, look, I get it. I get it. I'd probably be the same. I'd be coming out with red lipsticks and taupe lip liners, which you don't put the red lipstick and the taupe liner together, but look, you just know what it is that I'm saying if you've watched me for a while. I feel this is very authentic to her. The price point is really good. I think the collection is very cohesive. She's one of the brands that hasn't kind of come out with 500 different things. It feels like every launch is very strategic. It's very well considered. Like at this point, we're on to 3 palettes now. We've got some blushes, we've got some brushes, and we have some lip liners. I don't think there's anything else. There probably is, and I've just like, my brain is falling away like wet pieces of cake. But I feel it's very cohesive and it's done very, very nicely. There's elements of this even with the palette that I feel translates across seasons, because like you have those green and reddish tones in there for like more Christmassy looks, but then there's also the paleness that can bring you into spring. But you know my feelings on that sort of thing, like just wear whatever you want, it doesn't matter what the season is. But I think it's beautiful. I did do a little bit of a double take. I thought it was stunning, so well done. We then have Makeup by Mario, and it's Ethereal Eyes season. It seems every time around this year we get a new Ethereal Eyes palette, and he does the thing that I don't like, which is limited edition, the FOMO thing of get it now or forever hold your peace. And I'm like, don't make me hold my peace. I don't know where to put it. That irks me. I don't like that. And there's quite a few people who would look for like previous palettes of his to come back because, you know, they really enjoyed it. I don't like that sort of thing. This is available now. It's $69. They say it's blendable, long wearing and versatile. And here's the thing, right? His palettes tend to be very unassuming. You look at them in the palette and you kind of go, that looks boring. I don't care. And quite frankly, if that's your feelings, I understand. I feel it's a very legitimate critique, right? Because I looked at that and kind of went, I don't know how I feel about this. I mean, I like the greeny, grungy tone in it, but apart from that, I feel like I wouldn't get any sort of use out of it, and it's all very mid-toned, right? If that's the way that you're feeling, same, frankly. But then I saw bits of it on the eye, and I was like, God damn you, right? Because that Makeup by Mario, his mattes are really great. I'm not going to say they're not great, they are. But the shimmers are really beautiful. Now, do I think all of the shimmers are necessarily equal? No, I think there's definitely some shimmers there that kind of stand out more so than others. However, does that necessarily justify the price of $69? I'm not entirely certain, right? That's going to depend as to who you ask. You know, it's all very subjective. If I say it is, you may say no. And we're both technically correct for ourselves. I do like it when I see it on the eye. However, because it wasn't an immediate, yes, I want this, and even seeing it swatched and seeing the fact that, yes, there is a deep shade in there, but there's not a lot beyond that one deep shade. It's all very mid-tone and a few lights. And I get that he's probably saying like, I want you to use this with other palettes from the Ethereal Eyes collection, fair enough. But you've made your things limited edition. So if people have been using their previous ones, they could already be panned. So I don't know what you're expecting people to do with this. Like, you're trying to have it be a standalone palette, but you don't really have that many palettes in your collection that are not limited edition. So I don't really understand the rationale of that. It's pretty, it's fine, but ultimately I feel that I do feel like it's one of the more forgettable ones. Like, I feel like the Ethereal Eyes from last year that had the more like navy tones, I feel like that was way more interesting. With this, he's that really interesting, almost like greeny gold, and I think that's beautiful. Lean into that. If you're going to do that, commit and do more khaki tones. That could have been absolutely stunning, but he didn't commit and then just made it be more neutrals. And now there's nothing wrong with neutrals. If you love a neutral, I understand, because I think that neutrals, when they're done well, they're done very, very beautifully. But this one, I just feel is quite lackluster and disappointing. So I do feel a bit better, because it means I'm not getting something which my bank balance will be very pleased about, quite frankly. But yeah, bit of a disappointing one. So yeah, this next one though, not disappointing, but also disappointing, because F you Dramo for showing me beautiful things, but also I'm like, how would I wear this? All over my body. That's how I would wear that. This is the Dramo Gradient Chameleon Eyeshadow Palette, the Luxe 01. And it's over on Look Healthy Store right now for $59.99. Normally I'd tell you to go and look at C Beauty Mall, but they don't seem to have updated their stuff lately. And I'm like, okay, I get it. You're trying to get me to stop buying things, which I appreciate, but yes. I'm wondering if this is the one that was like sneak peeked a while ago. I don't think it is, which does make me wonder what's coming, but this one, very interesting. So it's apparently a customized handmade 2-color gradient chameleon glitter, right? So each of those 4 shades, there's like a gradient in them. They say the proportion of S grade chameleon powder is as high as 90%, which is apparently essentially why it is as pricey as it is. There is no need to repeatedly take powder and stack it. One layer will saturate and change colour. Rich and magical, shining like stars. By the way, this is taken from Look Healthy Store, in case you're wondering. Yes. Excuse me. Now they say it's safe and fine talcum powder and oil. So I think that's quite interesting in and of itself, that there is talc, or at least based upon that description there seems to be. But my goodness, this looks interesting. I do think that the initial swatch, you're kind of like, what exactly is going on here? But when you see kind of more natural swatches, that's interesting. I do have a question though, that because it has that kind of shift, that gradient, have they applied it just, you know, from their finger straight on to make it be that gradient, or does it just, like, what happens if I swirl? Am I gonna get a different color? Because I have questions on that. However, Jesus Christ, look at that. Oh my god. That makes me think of the year 2000, you know, when everything was holographic and we had a lot of bubble merch. I really like this. It's so expensive though, but they're calling it like a jewelry box, which I think there's meant to be like some sort of a component to it that makes it more like that. I don't really care about that. I, quite frankly, whatever. Packaging, it's just packaging. Those swatches though. Oh, those swatches. How dare you? How dare you? I feel very angry about this. Yeah, that's looking nice. God damn it, C Beauty. However, this is where I need to like bring myself in. Let's lasso me, bring me back. Realistically, I would probably struggle with things like this because, you know, getting your brush into it. Now, the pans do look quite big, so you could easily separate, but there is that question of just, you know, the shades mixing with each other, etc. It's not a massive one, but I think I'd like, what if I like one half of the gradient more than the other? It's just going to dip down massively in that one. I don't know. I don't. Why not just make them into like 8 pans rather than 4 pans? I know I'm being silly. I know I am. I know I'm being pedantic, but it's just, I think it's just me being like, right, when I was a kid and up until a couple of years ago, I could not let my food touch, right, on a plate. If it did, that was it. Game over. Can't eat the food. And I'm wondering if it's the same thing here, that I'm like, the shadows shouldn't be meeting in the pan. Even though they're all coming together on the eyelid, in the same way that food was all coming together in my stomach. But I'm wondering if it's the same thing that is just like bothering me. But it looks beautiful, and I'm sure it will be gorgeous because I have some Dramo stuff and their quality is excellent. So damn Sea Beauty is all I can say. And let us continue with that. This is Haggard, and they're another Sea Beauty brand. This is over on Look Healthy Store, and this is the Emo Monster collection. There are 3 4-pan palettes. They're $25.99 each. There's Emo Monster, Cat Eater, and Nine-Tailed Fox. I could find very little information over on Look Healthy Store, because when they were picturing these, they were also with these really cute little teddies, and I was like, do I get the teddies with the purchase? I would like the teddies, but I like teddies, I do. I like teddies, I like plushies, I like little things. And these look quite cute. I have one Haggard palette and it's nice. I got it as part of like a Sea Beauty Mall haul, I'd say a year ago. And it is nice, but I feel like it doesn't quite warrant the price tag in my opinion. However, these are looking pretty nice. I'm gonna say, the kind of swatches that they've presented here don't entirely kind of show them off, because I've seen some separate swatches elsewhere, and particularly the palette Cat Eater is quite interesting, because the second shade in that, like the second to the left, yeah, I don't know how to words are hard. That one's actually really interesting because there's like some sort of like glittery particles in it, and I feel like they haven't captured that particularly well there. But the problem is then that they haven't swatched all of the palettes on the hand, so it's very inconsistent, and I can't give you the full information, full kind of comparison across them. They're really pretty, they are really nice. I don't know if I would personally be 100% happy paying for $25.99 for them, for each of them. So if I got all 3 of them, it would be like $77.97, which feels like a lot when you think about the Nomad Cosmetics palette, which is €61. Do you know what I mean? So I think these are really pretty, and the way that they have kind of packaged them looks quite cute and makes a lot of sense. But I think just it's the price and the versatility of it kind of slightly puts me off. The other thing that I'll say is that it reminds me a little bit of the 4-pan Kaleidos palettes that came out several years ago. I feel like if you have those, these are similar-ish, not exact dupes, but like we're looking at the same sort of kind of color stories. Like even the 4-pan that Kaleidos did, we're talking about 4-pan purpley palette, 4-pan browny grey palette, and a 4-pan, I think there was like a pink one as well. So it kind of feels like we've had stuff like this from brands already at a similar price point. So I'm not so sure on this, but you know what? If the teddies are included, all bets are off. Is that I know that's stupid, I know that, but like, call me basic. It's just who I am, and I'm in touch with that. But it's all right. It's not a bad one. I'm just not 100% into it. Although I do like the palette Cat Eater. Although I don't like the name. Do not eat the cats. Don't. Unless it's like the cat is the eater, like the cat eater, which is what Darcy is. I came home today, or the other day, and he ate 3 sachets in one go and was still looking for more. So maybe that palette is just for him and his ridiculous gastronomic needs. Hard to tell. And we have one more piece of Sea Beauty news, and this kind of was shown a few hours before I sat down to film here on Thursday. And this is the Apocalypse collection with Kryptein Cosmetics. They had kind of shown the outside packaging of a few things, and I was like, ah, god damn you, Kryptein. Because they only did their Emerald City collection not that long ago. It wasn't a massive collection, it was a highlighter and a palette. But I immediately ran off and got that. Like, and I will say this right now, no regrets. absolutely no regrets. So when I saw that there was an outside packaging and they just saw like black packaging, I was like, okay, god damn you. I'm gonna have to try and figure out how to increase my income because brands are coming for me. This collection includes one eyeshadow palette. It's in the same sort of format that they've done before, a multi-chrome single eyeshadow, one matte eyeshadow and 4 lip glosses. So the eyeshadow palette is kind of the standard price of $59. The multi-chrome single eyeshadow is $18. The matte single eyeshadow is $6. There's the Conquest, Slaughter, Famine and Death lip glosses. They're $14 each, but you could bundle the lip glosses and have them in a gift box for $56, which saves you nothing. Unless they're like, you're getting the gift box for free. But I'm like, who's keeping the gift box? Anyways, you can get the full collection for $139 if you are interested. Now, I thought this was going to be it for me, that I was going to lose my ever-loving mind on this, because again, just saw the outside packaging and went, god damn you, Kryptein. Because once I started buying Kryptein, that was it. I did slightly lose my mind. However, I don't really tend to go for palettes in these kind of colour tones. And I do have palettes that are quite like this. Like the main one that's coming to my mind is Cosmic Brushes and the Sinister palette, which is a larger version of this, but brilliant quality. That's not me saying that Kryptein isn't great quality. They are fantastic. It's why I've ended up buying them. But I feel like I can get similar-ish looks from my Cosmic Brushes palette, the Sinister one, which was unfortunately limited edition. If I hadn't gotten that, maybe I'd think about that. So I guess it might be good for people who missed out and kind of went, oh, I really like that colour story. In terms of the singles, I mean, it's grand, fine, don't care. I don't have a lot of information as to what the lip glosses look like, but they could be pretty okay. I mean, $14 each. It's not bad. I'm honestly relieved that I don't love this more than I do. I was like, oh my god, if I like this in the same way that I liked the Emerald City collection, I am in trouble, because I just had to pay my car insurance. I have to pay car motor tax. I just had to get my car serviced. Why the fuck do I have a car? I need a car. But it's an expensive thing, which is fine, you know, and there's mortgage payments and a septic tank to sort out. I know, glamorous lifestyle over here. But I was like, I swear, if you're all bringing out these lovely things when I don't have the same disposable income, I'm going to be annoyed. And I won't do anything about it because I'm not foolish. I won't like put myself into any sort of financial straits for it. But I'm quite relieved at this because these are not tones that I typically wear that often. And when I do wear them, I have palettes that I go to for that. As I said, I have the Cosmic Brushes one. If I'm looking for a Sea Beauty one, there's the Cheeria palette, and they have some beautiful shimmers in that, which is kind of a fraction of the price. I believe they're like $36-ish. Pretty darn good palette is all I can say. So if you, and I kind of got that last year actually as part of a Sea Beauty Mall haul. So I feel like this one isn't for me, and I'm personally really happy about that. So thank goodness. But yeah, it's kind of like a generic Halloween launch, and that's grand. I am safe. And another one that I am safe from is Beauty Creations, who have done another collab, which nobody asked for, and it's cliched and it's generic, and I mean, you can tell I don't have positive feelings towards it. This is Beauty Creations, A Nightmare Before Christmas, and they took an interesting IP and did the least with it. There are 2 different products. There are lip oils, which come in 2 shades, Pumpkin King and King of Screams. They're $8 each, and there's their lip treatments. They come in 2 shades, Grin and Share It, and Simply Meant to Be, $8 each. But if you wanted all 4 of those products together, you can bundle them for $28, saving $4. I mean, I'm not a massive fan of Beauty Creation. I don't know where they came from or how they've ended up with so many IPs, but I'm quite frankly tired. We'll talk about the lip oils first. Whatever, it's grand. It looks like Claire's accessories. I feel like I could go down 2 pennies for my UK friends. That's Primark. I feel like I could go there and get something like this for a similar price. You know, I'm not saying I could necessarily get it cheaper, but I don't know. I just don't kind of see the purpose of this. And even seeing it on, it's fine, like it's grand, but they're based in South America, if I remember correctly, and like it's inexpensive. It's $8 for a lip oil. However, you know, shipping, etc., it gets to a point where you're like, this definitely isn't worth it. Like Pumpkin King, meh, grand, I don't care. The King of Screams one is a little bit more interesting because it's more cool toned. However, you can get a bunch of cool toned lip oils, lip glosses, etc. And look, I know that there's going to be somebody who disagrees with me and says lip oils and lip glosses are not the same thing. There's more of one ingredient in lip oils than the other. Grand, fair enough. But for me and the things that I use them for, I feel like they're too similar. And I'm just like, why have we separated this? I don't know why, and I wish it wasn't the case, but lip oils as a concept really annoys me. I'm at that phase of life where I'm just perpetually annoyed by things that I shouldn't be annoyed by. I think I might be entering menopause, to be fair, so like there might be that, who knows. The lip treatments, they've given F all information on that as to what's involved there. They've just basically gone, look, we've done packaging, we've put things into it, now give us your money, people. And quite frankly, like, I like The Nightmare Before Christmas, I do. There's a lot of people who like it, but I mean, we've had so many brands taking this IP before and doing it in much more interesting ways, right? Melt obviously did it quite well. I don't love their eyeshadow palette, but my god, things like, you know, their eye gels, etc., their eyeliners, Jesus Christ, they were fantastic. Then you look at this. What's this? What is this nonsense? Even the shade Grin and Share It, did you need that along with the lip oil? Because they look similar-ish to each other. I don't see the purpose of that. And even the shade Simply Meant to Be, I'm sorry, but like very little difference. I think on some of the models they've like lined their lips, which don't do that if you're trying to sell me something like that, because it's not clear. Look, I don't care is the nicest way to say this. Maybe I need to stop talking about beauty creations. Is that like I'm getting to that point with quite a few brands. There's a few brands that I don't talk about anymore. Elf, for obvious reasons. Made by Mitchell, for obvious reasons. Beauty creations, I think they're just annoying me now. That I feel like the stuff is not well thought out and it just bugs me. You're probably sitting there going, Teresa, it's not that deep. And honestly, you're right. You're right. I'm a curmudgeonly person at this point, and I think if I'd seen this a few years ago, I'd have been like, oh yeah, grand, whatever, and I wouldn't have been that bothered by it. But I just feel we have so much stuff. Like, I wade through the new releases and kind of go, this is stuff that's worth talking about. And this isn't worth talking about in the sense of it's not interesting, but it's worth talking about in that we are unnecessarily making shit. Like, what purpose does this serve? What void in the market is this giving? It's not. It's not. It's just repackaged nonsense that they're trying to market as nostalgia. And I think that's what annoys me, is when they take stuff that has zero thought in it and just put some packaging on it and go, you'll buy this because you like this IP. That annoys me so much. I think I need to lie down. I'm getting very irate over things that are not worth getting irate over, but I mean, that's me. We then have Fantasy Cosmetica, who have revealed that they are doing a collaboration with Battybean. That's her name over on Instagram, but you will know her as Betty Jean. This is not Betty Jean's first Halloween collaboration. She's done very well before. This is the Witch's Familiar palette, and it's retailing right now for €43.95. The palette is magnetic and the shadows are removable. I know that's become kind of trendy again. There was a point where it was, and then it wasn't, and now it's come back again. It just shows how cyclical these things are. I was looking on the website and I felt I had to include this. They've said that the shades Feline, Hex, Cauldron, Coven, Altar and Tarot, which are 6 shades out of the 12 pan palette, are not intended for use around the immediate eye area in the US. Which is interesting because isn't Betty Jean in the US? So quite strange. And I went further down and it says, warning, attention California residents, this product can expose you to chemicals including titanium dioxide, which is known to the state of California to cause cancer when inhaled. Why are only the Californians being warned? What about is it just the Californians specifically when they themselves are exposed to titanium dioxide? Or is it like, you know, how they've been like, hey, Tylenol causes autism, which it fucking doesn't. Is it one of those situations? Is it that, like, that state has it in for titanium dioxide? I don't know. I don't know enough about these things. I just thought that was quite strange that half of the palette is not meant for immediate use in the US around the eye. Now, obviously that's probably going to be different for Europe because we have slightly different rules, etc. But I just found that very odd, very unusual in this day and age, because obviously, like, there have been things like MOCRA which are clamping down on things. But yeah, the tones themselves, they're not bad. They're kind of, to be fair, what I would expect for Halloween. I feel like I've seen things like this. Like, there's parts of this that reminds me a little bit of the Lunar Beauty Moonspell Volume 2. Like, there was like purples and reds in there. So the bottom kind of 9 pans reminds me a bit of that. And then the more tealy aquamarine bits are a little bit out there. It's grand, and I'm sure she'll do really well because she's a very beloved content creator. This one just isn't for me, and that, do you know what, again, delighted about that, because frankly need to be saving my money. But yeah, I just think it's quite strange for a US content creator to have a palette and be using a palette, showing a palette, and what, are they just not using half of it around the eye? Just a bit, I don't know. I don't know. That's what I'm going to finish that point on, because I'm baffled a little bit. Maybe there's like a very specific reason for that, etc. And I'm sure she probably explains that in her YouTube. I haven't had a chance to watch that. I'm very sorry. I'm very bad. But if you're interested, maybe she has a rationale for that, and that's what I'm missing. But there you go. We're obviously heading into Wicked season, and I talked about REM Beauty last week, but it seems that there's more stuff that's coming out, and it's specifically perfumes. I don't talk about perfumes that often, but when I do, I tend to talk about stuff that I'm interested in because it's my channel. So REM Beauty, which is owned by Ariana Grande, is coming out with 2 fragrances. They're over on Ulta Beauty right now, and I swear to God, if these don't come to Boots, I am going to be so angry. Actually, if the whole REM thing doesn't come to Boots, I'm going to be really, really annoyed. So there's 2 fragrances. One is the Glinda Bubbly Pink Eau de Parfum. The other one is the Elphaba Enchanted Eau de Parfum, and they're $72 each. I'm going to talk about the Glinda one first. So I love that the description is Rejoicify, because that's from the musical. Rejoicify as Oz presents Glinda Bubbly Pink by Ariana Grande Fragrances. So it's like the Ariana Grande fragrances. It's technically not REM Beauty, so it's a bit all over the place. This might come to Brown Thomas, actually. I wonder. Oh, I'm annoyed though because it's limited edition, which I don't love. They say that it's a delightful and sugar spun scent, which tends to be the things I like. They say the fragrance family is floral gourmand. Gimme, gimme, gimme. I love florals. I love gourmand. Gimme, gimme, gimme. The keynotes are pink sparkle apple, blush nectarine, and pink pepper. Nom nom nom. Gimme, gimme, gimme. The mid-tones or mid-notes are charming princess tulip and dewy peony. The base notes are creamer cedarwood and also includes blonde woods, sandalwood, and sugared musks. Yes, I like the sound of that. I do. It is a bit of me. And then the other perfume, the Elphaba Enchanted one, a bewitching new fragrance. Again, that is limited edition. I don't love a limited edition one. They say it's a complex, layered, and surprisingly addictive fragrance. This fragrance family is more amber woody. So if you're into that, which I do quite like, I do like amber fragrance. I like fragrance in general. I do. It tends to work for me. Like most fragrances seem to work with whatever my pH is. So the keynotes are, the top notes have green glow apple, freesia, and black plum. Oh, excuse me. The mid notes are moonflower, vanilla caviar, and emerald cocoa accord. And then the base notes are smoldering oud wood, oak moss, and vanilla elixir. Ooh, Oh, I like the sound of that. I do. And the packaging looks quite cute as well. Obviously the Glinda one comes with like the little crown. I got the cherry one eventually because I was like, I want that, and I couldn't find it anywhere. And I eventually got it through Brown Thomas, and it's nice. But the thing that gets me is it was meant to be, was it Cherry Dreams or something, but it wasn't as cherry-ish as I was hoping. I like my fragrances to punch me in the face. Like, I want a good smack. So there's part of me that's like, is this going to give me as much wabam as I necessarily want it to? It might not. So, but it mightn't come to stores for me to smell it. So I'm in a weird predicament. I'm going to have to look at reviews and see what the story is. That's what I depend upon. But we have more wicked stuff, and this time it's It Cosmetics, and every so often they come out with a new foundation brush, and this is apparently what's happening. So they have their Glinda foundation brush, which is limited edition, and they have the Elphaba foundation brush, and they are $34 each. Again, they're available right now over on Ulta Beauty. In terms of the Glinda foundation brush, they say that it's dome-shaped, it has a fluffy head for all-over quick foundation application, it effortlessly applies liquid, cream, and powder foundations. Its ultra plush synthetic makeup brush hairs do not shed for a flawless streak-free finish, and again it's limited edition, it has like glitter in it, etc. Then when we contrast that with the Elphaba one, that has a triangle shaped head for all over and contouring foundation application, so a little bit different. Dense points on all corners precisely blend product in creases and crevices of the face. It effortlessly applies liquid, cream, and powder foundations, so same sort of thing that they're saying again. Again, limited edition. I used to really love the It Cosmetics foundation brushes, and I still actually have them, and they're not bad at all, but I've gotten to a point now where there's other ones that I much prefer. I don't know if I was trying to say popular or trying to sing it there. I don't know what happened. I think I probably would have gone for this a few years ago, but I've become a little bit more specific about my foundation brushes and a little bit more choosy. So this one isn't for me, but it's grand. It's fine. This next one, Jesus Christ, I was so excited when I saw this. Thank you to Danny who actually sent this over to me, and the lovely Jamie from Makeup on Your Radar also sent this to me, and I was like, oh my god, I wonder did she have the permission to like reveal this from Danessa Myricks? And poor Jamie was like, yes, she said it in the video. That's how excited I was about this that I didn't even properly take in the audio. I was just like, oh, Danessa, new Lightworks, it's happening, oh my god, everybody, stay calm. And I got way too overexcited. I took a screenshot, sent it to my friend Daniela, and I was like, what are we gonna do? What's happening? What's the procedure? It's, you know, this is the thing, right? If any other brand came out with this sort of colour story, I'd be like, meh, whatever. But I blindly trust, not completely blindly, there's been a few issues, but I generally am like, okay, Danessa, you know what you're doing, particularly when it comes to the Lightworks, and I like these. These are very interesting. I'm excited, and I've made good life choices in that on my Sephora account, Danessa is one of my products. You know how you can choose your 2 products? Danessa is one, so I can get 10% off. This is happening, people. This is not a drill. I will get this. And it's like the same sort of stacky things as we had in the previous palette. So I'm frankly unhealthily excited about this. I feel like this is the more neutral stuff that we've haven't seen from her previously, but obviously the way that she does these is to kind of like mix and match things together, so you could do that across the other ones. So I am excited. It's happening. I will get this. Absolutely. Then the other day I was on TikTok and I saw this particular video, and it was Beauty Bay, and they were saying we're soft launching our new drop, and as I'm filming I haven't seen what it is, but I'll probably talk about this more next week because it's apparently coming out on Friday, so you'll already have seen it. I will say those swatches, meh, don't care. Beauty Bay don't really get me that excited anymore, so well, look, I'll put a pin in it and see. Maybe I'll come back next week and completely eat my words and be like, I was wrong, I take it all back, you are a god amongst men. You know, we all learn, and that's okay. Then Adept Cosmetics put out this picture, which is very dark and very hard to look at because you're like, what is going on here? But if you squint and hold your head to a particular angle, it looks like it's a green toned palette, and I am livid, right? They have said this is coming soon, and this is the blurb. Commonly called the golden blood type, Renol isn't actually gold. It's the rarest blood type in existence and has been called golden blood. It is shared by only a handful of people on Earth, with roughly 45 people worldwide. Legend has it that the very existence of this rare blood type is evidence of ancient alien genetic manipulation of humans, which feels like a really nice kind of a move on from their EBE palette and their Area 51, etc. If this is green toned, and it looks like it is, F you, Adept, and the horse that you rode in on. You're taking my money and I'm not happy about it, but also give this to me. You'll never give me anything, and I know that that's fine. You'll take my money and I'll say thank you, and you'll be like, haha, yes. You thank us for the products that we make. Yeah, I'm excited about that. Annoyingly so. I hope I hate it. Fingers crossed that it's a disgusting and ugly palette. Then we have Dieverune Cosmetics, which I always keep an eye on. They tend to do things really, really well. They are coming out with something, and they've said something bizarre is coming soon. It's a Halloween collection. Look, I have faith in them that they will do something quite interesting. They're a very consistent brand. I need to probably, well, don't need, but I would like to get some more things from them because I'm a greedy bitch and I like what I have from them. Yeah, I'm in a strange frame of mind this week, so you've gotten this, and I apologise. But my gorgeous friends, that's it. There was quite a few things to talk about this week, but I do have my favourite comment, and I read this while drinking tea and I actually spat it out, and I was afraid because I was reading it on my laptop that I damaged my laptop, but I didn't. We're okay. This is from my gorgeous friend Wilma Fingerdo, who said, Puffy Bags was my drag queen. I can't even say it properly. Puffy Bags was my drag queen name in high school. Well, it was more of a nickname. That's the last time I'll ever wear a thong. Lol. And even now, I know it. I put this in myself. I chose to put in this comment. It still makes me laugh. I think it's so brilliant. God damn you, Wilma. God damn you. My laptop is fine. It is fine, but it was such a go for a moment. But anyways, my gorgeous friends, thank you so much for watching. I did say I was going to do a Swatching Sundays this week, but I actually have a friend who's coming to visit me and I just won't have a chance to do a Swatching Sunday, but I will do the green palette next week that comes from Sugar Rock. Couldn't remember the name there. That's great. That's a fantastic sign. I'm surprised too. Who would have known that I have a social life? Stranger things have happened. But that, my gorgeous friends, is it. Thank you so much for watching. Do please like, comment and subscribe. Turn on that notification bell because it's polite, and do please share, because sharing is caring, except of course for STDs, in which case just wrap it up. Don't be gross. But that's it. That's the end of the video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.